We're back to it on skin, bacterial infections, and these can be Staphylococcus or Streptococcus. We know that certain manifestations of bacterial infection are one or the other, but the medical team will use labs to make sure that the right medication is prescribed, and certainly fighting bacterial infections is an antibiotic issue. I want you to be way familiar with a bacterial infection that's common in children, and in wrestlers. This is highly contagious impetigo, and it'll begin as a patch of red, and then it will be purulent, which means that it'll be an empyema, so there'll be pus that escapes from there, and then it develops a characteristic golden crust over the top of it. It's highly infectious. A person should not go to preschool with this on. Shouldn't be wrestling. Typically it's around the face. Impetigo, highly infectious. You get it. And then cellulitis could be a result of strep or staph, and Staphylococcus or Streptococcus pyogenes, or Staphylococcus aureus that we've talked about before, and it's a fiery red color, and it's pyrogenic, hot to the touch. Not quite as vivid here, very, very vivid here. There's not a doubt that this is highly uncomfortable, and because it's hyperemic, there's lots of blood, it's hot to the touch, and this needs to be resolved before it becomes septicemic or bacteremic. So again, antibiotics, you'll recognize it. A manifestation of cellulitis happens in the face, and it's called St. Anthony's fire. It's associated with strep throat. Now, didn't make a real big deal about this, but erysipelas is how you pronounce it. But the bacteria that produces strep throat can also lead to scarlet fever. It can be manifested superficially in the skin. Scarlet fever, then that bacteria becomes blood-borne and can sit in the mitral valve, cause vegetations, which is laying down of a plant-like structure, and lead to failure of the mitral valve. So we need to be way heads up about this. This is correctable and needs to be addressed. And then bacterial infections, maybe you've had some experience with furunculosis or boils, and this would be the manifestation of raised skin, and it's empyemic. There's pus here that's highly infectious. The caution here is that the temptation is to say, because it's uncomfortable, it's pushing my skin, putting pressure on the free nerve endings, and you want to milk it and get that volume out of there. That needs to be done under sterile conditions. When you squeeze something like that, it presses it deeper into the tissues, and can be difficult. If there's bacterial infection around the hair follicles, called folliculitis, looks like this, not uncommon for men, spreading that bacteria as they shave, or women when they shave their legs. Folliculitis, bacterial infection. And then do you think of the manifestation of pimples as a bacterial infection? That's exactly what it is. Let's start at the beginning. When the oil from the sebaceous gland is traveling up the hair follicle, then it can become entrapped. This is what's being manifested here. It becomes trapped, and a portion of that oil can be exposed to the air. That's a blackhead. This is a whitehead. When the skin gets raised, but none of the oil is coming through that aperture, the skin's going to look a little bit whiter. Now, these are not infected. This becomes black. We call it a blackhead because that oil becomes oxidized. When there's a bacterial infection around that skin where this occurs, that's when we get a pimple. And of what does a pimple consist? Well, obviously the oily plug, called a comedone. But when infection gets there, then it's purulent. Yes, it's empyemic. And so it's way important to moderate the oil on the skin. Some of us are just genetically predetermined to have kind of this kind of a circumstance because we have oily skin and we have more pimples than other people. And there are some systemic medications that can retin-A, and then there are systematic ways to milk the blackheads out so that it's not a site for bacterial infection. A runaway bacterial infection of portions of the skin that are quite oily can lead to acne vulgaris. Now this is a back, and you can see that cysts have formed. There's been so much inflammation here over such a period of time that there's cystic scarring and on the face. And so the solution is to treat topically and systemically. So if you have someone under your care who has, I would say, I don't mean this in a bad way, but runaway acne, acne vulgaris, there is help available medically, and you need to be in psychological support because of the cosmesis involved. When they look in the mirror, they see this, and it's tough. It's tough. As having walked that journey, I know it's tough. And then I think probably you've heard about rosacea. There's a couple different kinds of rosacea. For not sure why this happens, but it's a form of acne, not uncommon in women in their 30s and above. Acne rosacea. This is typical. There's kind of a red mask. And then this is a little bit different, a manifestation. This is a pre-cosmetic surgery. This is rhinophyma, where there are changes in the dermis that result in this roughened texture. And you can see that he has a good result following cosmetic surgery. And then around the nails, ingrown nails, and this is called paronychia. This is where the inflammation at the margin of the nail results from a bacterial invasion, and as that bacteria incubates there, it produces pus, causes pyo and pyrogenic characteristics, erythema. This is a manifestation in the fingernails. And then onychia is inflamed nail bed. So this is actually bacterial infection. I don't know if you can see that. You can. This PowerPoint's available to you, or this. Excuse me. This PowerPoint is available to you on eClass, and this is irregular, kind of pitted surface of the nails. And then you know of pink eye, conjunctivitis. What I need you to know, really take to the bank, own this, that there's pink eye or conjunctivitis that's bacterially mediated, caused by bacteria, but there's also pink eye that's caused by virus. Don't need to medicate the virus version, need to medicate the bacterial version. And so whoever is writing the script, the PA or the MD or the ophthalmologist, I'm not sure if an optometrist can write those medications, but really there needs to be a culture to run in order to determine whether it's bacterial. In this day and age, with concern about not overusing antibiotics, somewhat more reluctant to begin a regimen of antibiotics before it's known whether that's bacterial or virus. And then I really do believe that there are some people who are predisposed to a bacterial infection in their lid called a hordeolum. You know it as a stye. Very highly infectious, as is conjunctivitis. And bacterial infection means that it needs to be medicated to resolve. And then we want to move into viral infections because we've been studying infections up until now. Here we are with bacterial infections of the skin. You're way familiar that type 1 herpes simplex is extragenital. These are cold sores, or some people call them fever blisters or canker sores, and spread through direct contact. What you need to be aware of is that viruses tend to remain with us. Once you have that, I have a relative who had manifestations of this multiple times in a year, and really kind of plagued with it. And then sexually transmitted infection, which is genital herpes. Once you have genital herpes, you're going to have genital herpes forever. So it'll be quiescent, it'll be dormant, and then it will flare up again. And you can take a look at in the genitalia where there's example of that manifestation. Then herpes zoster, chickenpox, and shingles. HZV, herpes zoster virus. This is a manifestation of shingles along the nerve root. Probably that's T, maybe about T8. It hides in the nerve root, and then when immune system's down, there it is, it comes to the fore. This person is really, really uncomfortable with the nerve that is affected by that virus in her face. And then I'm going to finish this portion of the viral infection with warts. And Verruca vulgaris is the common wart. This is a virus. You know that if you kill the virus, that wart will go away. And some of you have had experience with that. Curettage, which is cutting out using cryogenics or cryotherapy to burn it with liquid nitrogen, is an option. And then Verruca planus is a plantar wart. Very, very uncomfortable. And you can tell the difference between a callus and this by pinching this, and it's very uncomfortable on pinching. Have to be careful about removal here because a large area of skin, and got to make sure that cleanse it. So through this whole process, the process this person submitted to took 14 weeks, and you don't want to get a secondary bacterial infection, so wound cleaning is way vital. Okay,